the message this week, as I started to get some feelings around it, seems a bit big and difficult for my human mind to completely conceptualize or to formulate. And so it's given me a little bit of pause. And yet, as I still feel that calling, I lean into it. And this is where I'm being guided and called to have some trust, vulnerability, authenticity, and flow with it, to be comfortable, to co create with spirit by taking the first step as this weaves itself together as it begin to speak, right? It's just sometimes you need that little, okay, just jump. Just jump and trust that we're behind you with the wings that you need to fly, and you will see. You're not going to understand what it feels like until you are feet off the ground, right? So what I'm being called to start with is truth. One word, truth. I've had this beautiful experience unfolding for me in my life. I mean, continually, right? But particularly, I'm thinking of this one thing in my personal life that I've been experiencing that is just like so full of magic, mirroring, reflection, and calling me into my higher self, helping me with reclamation of the deepest truths of my soul essence. And there's a push out of my comfort zones, which I love. I'm grateful for that when it is serving me and it's a part of that healing journey. And so I was just reflecting on the awe of this experience in my life. And sometimes when you have those great moments of being soul led, being in alignment, witnessing magic, the human mind has a hard time catching up to that, right? And is wanting to understand it. And that happens for me. I want to understand this. I want to be able to put it through this computer and like 100,101 compute, right? And your brain is a tool and it's not actually the antenna or receptor or the place where you connect into higher level intelligence. There's a certain cap that you reach when you're functioning from the eye of your human mind. And so, anyway, as I'm grappling with this and just having this internal conversation with my spirit team, I'm asking from a place of awe and gratitude, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening for me? What is this about? What is this? And my spirit team give me, excuse me, oh my goodness, tripping on my words, throat chakra and energy, right? As I'm being called to vulnerability here. I was given an answer, very succinct, one word, truth. I love that. I love that. I love it. It lights me up. The way that my spirit team communicates to me is always a beautiful gift. And when they do that with this succinct, what to me feels like humor, right? Of one word answer to that. I love it. I love it. I like that type of communication that is very, to me, very loving and truth. Truth. Layers of resonance within that. Yes. So I've had a lot of gifts, blessings, and a couple of those gifts are people who have been brought into my life within the last couple of years. And I'll give a little origin story to that. I remember when I was in a former job and my spiritual gifts were really coming more and more online, and I was blown away by it, also still feeling a bit insecure and vulnerable. And I was in a setting that was rather traditional in certain ways, or I'll say more so, for whatever reason, didn't feel it'd be proper or supported or appropriate for me to go into a colleague's office and say, I just gave the most beautiful channeled, message to this person. Oh my goodness. Right. So I just felt like, oh, my heart's bursting to be able to share some of this with people, and I'm not really feeling safe to do this. And if you're wanting me to continue to unfold more, and I want that, I could really use some people here, right? And so I said this prayer one day when I was walking out of work, and I kid you not, about 3 months later, things shifted, new people were hired on, and critical people in my soul tribe, boom, delivered. Oh my goodness. What a blessing. What a blessing. And the truth that these people brought to the table for me, you know, crack me open and push me into living my life from soul and from heart essence, right? And this is remembrance. It wasn't a let me get to know you type of situation. I mean, there's elements of that because we are still in these human forms, of course, right? But it's energy speaks before you do when you walk into the room. And from that, there's just this soul recognition. And these people were key players that served as these keys that unlocked these parts of myself. And I started to have more and more vivid dreams and recall of past lives. And as I have that gift of this expanding and collapsing of time all in the same instance, I suppose that's timelessness, yeah, eternity that feels that way. It's so hard to put in the context of this linear notion that we're so used to here. And so as I have this collection of data coming online for me, I can see the through line. I can see the truth. That makes me want to bust out into some kind of Disney song that would sound like that. I don't know what it is, right? Maybe it's Hercules that I'm hearing, which is like, I can go the distance, right? So sweet. And so I'm seeing the through line and becoming more and more aware of who I am and more aware of what I am carrying that needs to be stripped away. And that is a gift. This is the ability for somebody who has that high frequency, done their own deep work and just beautiful energy to create this mirror of clarity so that I can see myself in divine essence, which includes being able to see the unhealed energy, the wounds, the low vibrational energy, the shadow work, if you will. That is also truth, temporary truth, temporal truth, right? And I suppose if you look at it from that higher perspective, it's not the truth of my divine essence. And so it deserves loving attention and witnessing to transmute that pain into power, into reclamation, into ascension, so I can rise up and anchor down more and more light that is the truth of my eternal self embodiment. So, carrying on with the theme of truth, I'm going to share a little personal example or story with you on this journey that I am forever walking with, finding some harmony between this identity of divinity with humanness, human embodiment. And this explains these two band-aids that I have on. I was doing yard work over the weekend, and I at first started to rake the leaves in a way that had some ease in it, and it felt like nature was flowing with me. And then the more I got a little bit rushed and in a lower density type of energy about it, the more aggressively I was kind of doing it, and the more resistance I was feeling from nature of like the leaves just not moving with me. And I started to feel a little bit of pain in my fingers as I was getting some blisters that were starting. And this is my human programming piece of some wounded masculine energy coming to the table here. Soon as I felt that pain, I denied it almost. I engaged in my own version of comparative suffering. And I thought to myself, remember when you gave birth to your first child and how insanely painful that was? And I said, yeah, I do. And so, does this feel like pain now in comparison? I said, nah, it's nothing. Let's keep going. And so I finished it. They blistered up and burst while I was finishing it. And there was a period of time where my mind, probably more like my soul essence, was, hey, go a little more soft, a little more nurturing, right? You could put some band-aids on for those. You could get some garden gloves. You could also take a drink of water while you're in there doing that to take a little break, since you're starting to feel really annoyed and rushed. And I was like, no, we got to keep going. There's no time for a break. There was time for a break. There absolutely was. Like, I was the only person there. There was no time. It would have been fine. It was this old energetic patterning of over identifying with that wounded masculine that is apparently in the past connected to a sense of pride or worthiness on a very superficial level, I suppose. That is not the truth of my divine essence. And when I am more in a divine union type of energy with balanced divine feminine and divine masculine energy, I can do yard work and do a beautiful job with it and flow and be more in flow state and continue to be very mindful of and holding space of and honoring my body. Yes. And this is the continued beautiful path that I seem to be walking right now, that is providing me with boundless opportunities for continued self love and ascension. And those two things seem to be so correlated, we can call it some causation, right? So inextricably connected, I'll say. And this is something I know I deserve, to continue with this growth work, with this self-awareness that is anchoring me into the deepest truths and allowing me to continue to free myself and set down the things that I choose to no longer be in alignment with that oversoul essence. And as this propels me further into self-love, I am so grateful for so many reasons. And one of them is my motherhood, because I am aware that my relationship to self is directly impacting my children. And there's no way around it. There's no way to positively influence their relationship to themselves, but through my relationship to myself. I can say all day long beautiful words. I can point all day long to certain paths I hope they take, but modeling is what they're really absorbing. And this is on a deep spiritual level, on an intuitive level, on a soul essence level. We feel energy. We feel energy so deeply. This is resonance. And so kids are wise to that. They may not have the ability to fully explain that, but they're wise to that. They're still close to source in this way. They're picking up when there's discrepancy between energy, frequency, and action or language. And to give a little example of this, I was at an outing on a beautiful day. My kids had some concession stand food, like some nachos with cheese and things like this, and they were sitting in front of me, enjoying their fun food and having a nice time. And I thought inside of my mind, should I offer them an apple? And I said to myself, no. If you ask them, would you like an apple? I think both of them will very quickly say to you, no, I'm not interested. And so I did not use words and I didn't say, would either of you guys like an apple? I modeled that. I pulled an apple out of my bag and I started eating it. And I hadn't said a word or made an offering. And my daughter very quickly says, I want an apple. I said, okay, sweetheart, here you go. You can have this one. I got to start it for you, right? And then 2 seconds after, my son says the same thing. I also want an apple. Absolutely, baby. Here you go, right? And this is modeling. And that's what's going to happen when your children are seeing how you really treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you take care of yourself, right? You deserve it. They deserve it. Let's do it. There's be a commercial here. And so I also want to note to you that as I was kind of in real time having all this awareness and this experience around raking those leaves, later that night I took my Band-Aid off and it had been on like all day. And I saw the blister was a perfect heart shape. And I thought, how sweet, how sweet. I love it. Literally, I am feeling divine messages in a blister. And this pain deserves to be witnessed inside of the frame of the truth of my divine femininity, which houses within it divine masculine energy. I protect, I provide, I nurture, I soothe my own soul and my own body. I honor and worship that essence, the altar within, and I build a temple around that. And I do that out of truth. And for the sake of being a divine mirror to everyone else who deserves to experience similar truths.